Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Bitcoin Association, for the invitation. I do work at Unbounded Capital. I'm a partner of Zach Resnick's, but we also have a sister company, Unbounded Enterprise, and that's what I'm speaking on behalf of today. So the current state of NFTs, these are probably headlines you've seen before. They're very art-focused, very high value. So you've seen Beeple sell an art collection for almost $70 million. These little guys here in the bottom left are called CryptoPunks. Many of those have sold for millions of dollars. And the through line between a lot of the NFT space is very scarcity-focused, high-priced items. They move very infrequently, so they kind of have the profile of fine art. And the target market is really investors. So that's great, but there's a whole bunch of other unique digital goods that make up the internet. So photographs and illustrations, we go to Shutterstock to get these unique non-fungible tokens. You can go get videos, you can get audio, you can get animation or code snippets if you're building a game, or you can get icons. And these are all a type of NFT as well. So this latter type of NFT really defines much of what we experience of as the internet. So if you were to suck all of these unique digital goods out of the internet, we'd be left with a very ugly experience and a very difficult thing to navigate. And unlike the kind of art NFTs that are selling for $70 million, these are typically individually very low price, very low value, but they have an enormously high volume of transactions and also a very big market beyond just investors and certainly beyond cryptocurrency investors. So what's the problem with these types of NFTs? Well, the internet lacks an effective payment method to commercialize these low value goods. So take, for example, this icon that we're looking at here. What's the value of a single icon for my presentation slides? And more importantly, how do I access and pay for that? So I went to the Noun project, looked up problem, found one that I like. Okay, now I have to make an account. Put my email address in, I have to click on all the motorcycles, that's always fun. And now I hit my first decision point. Do I pay $3 for the pro version, the pro download, or do I download it for free and do the attribution to the creator? I kind of wanted it to be white for my presentation, so I have to pay for it. Now here's another decision point, another spot to lose me. Do I subscribe, and if so, which subscription, or do I just pay for this one icon? I just wanted the one icon, so I paid $3. I have the receipts to prove it. But that's a mess. I mean, that's an insane experience to get an icon for a presentation. And these are really, there's all the problems that come from that type of experience are all downstream from the lack of micropayments. So what do you see? You see the bundling of goods, right? That icon's probably worth something like 10 cents, if I had to guess. Probably not $3, but you can't really charge 10 cents for one icon. There's no payment method that's effective for that. So they bundle it together and they make you buy 50, or they push you towards a subscription. Or you have to do this kind of ugly and ineffective attribution. So thank you to Web Tech Ops LLP for the icon. I don't know if that was good for him, it wasn't good for me, it wasn't good for you. It's kind of a bad outcome. And what you really see from this high friction is piracy. So I think 9 times out of 10, people are gonna download the free version, they're gonna crop out the attribution, they're gonna pull it into Photoshop, they're gonna make it white, and they're gonna throw it in their slide. That's obviously bad for the creator because his art was just stolen, but it's also bad for the pirate because they wasted a bunch of time doing that, and they also disincentivized the creation of icons, which clearly they want icons if they're in the business of pirating them. So what's the solution to this problem? That's what we're working on with our product NiftyJigs. So NiftyJigs is a platform to create and manage digital goods, and it's powered by Bitcoin SV NFTs and micropayments. So what should the experience of buying this icon look like? First of all, you should only buy what you want. I just want one icon, let me purchase one thing, and don't bundle it together. It should also be a micro pay-as-you-go experience. So I don't need to have any long-term relationship with the artist or with the platform. If I want one thing today, let me buy one thing. I don't need a subscription. It should be very easy to buy, so just click on it, one click, send them my 10 cents, and that's that. And what this would lead to is really, it would decrease the incentive to steal. So Steve Jobs and iTunes really proved this out with music, where they made it just more convenient to pay $1 for a song than to go on LimeWire and download a torrent and steal it. And they really cut into the piracy problem in music with that product. So what is our initial focus? So NiftyJigs, like I said, is a platform to create and manage digital goods, particularly for the open metaverse. So why are we focusing on games? Games are a very asset-rich vertical. So when you're in a game, the animation, the audio, the landscape, everything that you're seeing is a digital good. And it really is fertile ground for this type of innovation to make the process of purchasing and selling digital goods seamless. It's also, as we've heard earlier, a very big market. There's over 2 billion gamers globally, especially when you factor in mobile gaming. And with 2 billion gamers, that's great, but that also means there's quite a bit of game developers that are trying to service this market. And if you're a game developer, you're going through a process when you purchase digital goods, very similar to our Icon example. So you're bundling things, you're getting subscriptions, you're buying things that you don't need. It's very high friction, so it's not a good experience. And if we can help streamline that with NFTs and micropayments, we could really help a lot of games be improved. All right, so what is Nifty Jigs? Nifty Jigs is primarily 2 products. So we have our API and also our app. The API is the tool that developers will interface with, and it's going to help them create games with digital goods and micropayments. So this could be something like a landscape for a game where, just like the icon, it's not a scarcity-driven thing. You made this landscape, anybody that wants to purchase it can pull it into their game. So you would list this on Nifty Jigs, and if I'm making a game and I wanted to use your landscape, I could have a micropayment-based licensing agreement where every time someone plays the game, I pay you a penny. It also could deal with unique digital items, which is more what people think of when they think of NFTs. So I'll touch a little bit more on that on the next slide. But for all these unique digital items, there's also the Nifty Jigs app, which is what end users will use to kind of manage their digital life. Here's all of my digital goods. It'll have a wallet that controls those. It'll also have an inspector, an explorer, and a store and an exchange to purchase more or trade. And this is a mock-up of what that might look like. So we're focused on 2 games currently. Dog fooding is a common expression when you use your own software. So we're literally dog fooding with Duro Dogs, which is using the Nifty Jigs API. So this is an example of a unique digital good. So it's an NFT. If this was your dog in Duro Dogs, only you have this dog. It's one of a kind. But it's not scarcity focused like a lot of NFTs where it's one of 100 other dogs. So buy it now and sell it for more later. There could be hundreds of millions of these dogs. They're algorithmically generated. But again, they're all unique to you. So what goes into this dog? Illustrations, animations, audio, code snippets, and a lot more. So all of these things are accessible through the Nifty Jigs API. So for developers, this is great because if we have a lot of success with Duro Dogs and we have thousands, hundreds of thousands of players, a developer might say, hey, that's great. I want to tap into that network. I want to build an extension. So if they want to build a game, say Duro Dog Racing, where your dog's in a little go-kart driving around, they could pull these assets of the dog into their game, and then the commercial relationship between the creator of the assets, which in this case would be Unbounded Enterprise, and the creator of that other game could be mitigated in the same way as the landscape example, with micropayments on a micro-licensing arrangement. And that's really great for the end user because you don't really need to worry about any of that nerd stuff. You can just have your dog, you like your dog, and now there's another game. And when you play the other game, your dog's in that game as well. So this is what we mean by building this open metaverse where your assets can move between games even if it's not made by the same company, and everything can kind of be referenced by the same API. Hash War is another game that we're working on currently. It's a Magic the Gathering style deck building game. So in a similar way to how Duro Dogs could be extended with different experiences, Hash War could be extended with alternate card artwork. So this is kind of more in the vein of what the current NFT space is, 2-dimensional artwork. So we paid somebody, I think like $75 to design this piece of art. And I think it's a cool piece of art, but maybe when you're playing Hash War, you want to equip a different art to this card. So what you could do is somebody out there could make a piece of art and say, this costs 10 cents. And if you equip it, you make 10 cents. If Hash War grows to the level of Magic the Gathering, selling a card for 10 cents would yield the artists much more than the $75 that we pay them to make it from scratch. You could also do stuff where it's a limited item. So there's no reason that you couldn't make card art and say, there's only 100 of these. And then you're kind of in the more traditional NFT space where it is very scarcity driven and it's more of a speculative investment. You could also imagine things like 3D visualizations of Hash War, kind of the jump from chess to wizard's chess in Harry Potter. You could play Hash War with your cards, but it looks like this 3D battle that's going on. And somebody else could develop that, and it would be implementable through the Nifty Jigs API and accessible to owners of this NFT. Audio is another example. All sorts of assets that can all be interfaced with through the NiftyJigs API. So in summary, NFTs are much more than overpriced digital art. They already are all over the internet. The problem is that a lot of them have very locked value because of the lack of a commercial platform to properly monetize them. So BSV's micropayments really unlock that. And with NiftyJigs, we're going to make it simple for developers and end users to interface with it. We're starting with our focus on games, but we can expand this to all sorts of other verticals, like icons maybe one day. And stay tuned, because we have the API, the app, and DuroDogs all being launched by the end of the year. And then Hash4 will be ready sometime early next year.
Thank you. So, as I like to say, there is big power in small payments. I think we're going to bring Adam back on screen as well for just a quick chat. So Adam, I know you don't have a whole presentation, so we're just going to quickly let you talk about what you're doing in the NFT space beyond what you've already talked about.
So like I mentioned before, is that right now we've started with the NFTs related to crypto fights. They are essentially programmatically minted based on rules of the arena that you're in. And they can become more rare, and they can have basically more power in the match. And they have kind of all the functionality that I laid out before. And then in the platform, we're looking to go into, being able to create your own NFTs. So this could be, artists, designers, musicians, and so on, being able to actually create NFTs based on kind of files. To put it simply, is if you're a musician and you want to have basically an album launch, you could store all those files in the NFT itself. And kind of to what Unbound is doing is we are thinking about actually utility a lot versus speculation, and also about kind of rights. What is the NFT holder? Is it a bearer instrument, and you're granted certain rights with that? I think that's kind of the big problem right now with kind of the novel phase that we're in. And then it's going to become more, what does this NFT actually do versus the JPEG that I'm looking at? You've probably seen on Twitter, there's a lot of people kind of stealing the JPEGs for, the $1 million JPEGs and posting it on Twitter, and people are getting upset. And I think it's, it's so early that there's a lot of evolution. And so we're definitely thinking about that on our minds. And kind of going more into the metaverse angles, the license agreements and the royalty systems, we can actually build that protocol into the trading system, is that those NFTs aren't recognized unless you abide by those rules, essentially. And if you go outside of that, you're not going to really have a network to support that. And so we're, our minds, I think, are very in the same place with that. And we have a deal that we'll most likely be announcing probably around CoinGeek with a comic book producer to actually take their IP and basically some characters and mint them as NFTs and have them actually usable within crypto fights. And then it can kind of segue into other games at that point. And so I think that's going to be what the future of NFTs is, where you can actually use them. Hence the BSV is we can actually use them where a lot of the other NFTs is totally just, looking at it in your OpenSea account and you can't really do much with it.
Well, we do like utility and usability in VC. We talk about that a lot because it's the only thing that makes any of this work long-term in the blockchain world. And I'm excited for the announcement to come out because it'll be, I think, a really good move for the BSV world when that announcement is made. With the rest of our time, do we have questions for our audience here? We'll take some audience questions for Dave and Adam. Anything you want to know about NFTs? Other than that, most of the ones out in the marketplace don't really make any sense as to why someone is paying a lot of money for them. Yes, Chris.
How will you attract all those artists and everyone, the icons and the photos and all that stuff? Because I agree, making a deck, it's a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So the question is, how are you going to attract all those artists and content creators who want to NFT, for example, what you showed, like stock photography, images, icons, etc.?
Yeah. The icons were front of mind as I made my slides, obviously, so that was a good example to use. But we're really focusing all in on games to start. So we're seeding that with DuroDogs, which we hope is successful in its own right, and then that will, attract. So, for example, you were looking at an animation of the dog kind of standing. In the game that we have, there will be kind of actions that you can do with your dog. It'll do tricks and stuff. Somebody could make a different animation that we're not associated with, and that could become purchasable in the game. So they could monetize that. So there'll be all sorts of ways to piggyback off of what we've built to monetize, just to monetize any artwork that they want to contribute. I think the easiest thing will be hash war and alternate card art, because a lot of people are familiar with making 2D art. Yeah. But yeah, the idea is really to seed it with the network effect of our own game or our own games.
Yeah. And there's already other NFT marketplaces on BSV. There's one called Bullish Art at bullishart.com for contemporary artists. They support NFTs on several blockchains, but just added BSV support, so they have a number of artists releasing a series of art pieces, digital art on BSV. Any other questions for our NFT speakers? If not, that's okay. We will wrap this session up. Adam, thank you for joining us for a couple of sessions, and Dave, thank you very much.